Justmusic at the booth of IK-Multimedia. This is Christian. Next to me is Erik. Hello, Erik.
Hello. I'm Erik Norlander with IK-Multimedia. We've made an analog synthesizer, of course, Superbooth 2018. So this is the UNO Synth. The UNO Synth starts with two analog oscillators. It's an all-analog audio path. The two analog oscillators have continuously variable wave shape, so you can go continuously from triangle to saw, from saw to square, and then of course pulse width modulation. The two oscillators are independent, so you can set one to modulate one way, set the other one static, or do pulse width modulation on one, modulate between the triangle wave and the sawtooth wave on the other one. They're of course independently tunable, plus and minus 1 octave. Then in the center of the range, we do the detune, up to plus and minus 50 cents. So this is kind of an efficient way to get the tuning controls into a small, easy to use package. We have separate volumes for oscillator 1, 2, and white noise. They get mixed together into the filter. So they get mixed together into our two-pole resonant multi-mode filter. So we have, of course, low pass, high pass, band pass.
Digital or analog?
Analog. It's a complete, full analog audio path, yes, absolutely. With adjustable resonance that can get quite intense. Then we have a custom overdrive circuit with a really cool curve, and this gives the machine a lot of variation in character. So if you leave the overdrive off or at very low saturation settings, you can easily get like kind of warm 70s classic synth sounds. But then when you start going into like, let's say the bandpass filter with higher resonance, and then you bring up the drive, suddenly we're now in EDM territory and it's sounding like kind of a super modern Euro rack kind of synth sounds. So we really want the UNO Synth to be the analog synth for everyone. So whether you are a university graduate playing super technical progressive rock, or you're a kid that wants to do EDM on the train, UNO Synth should be that for everyone. It's 199 euros, exclusive of VAT, super lightweight. It will run on 4 AA batteries or powered via USB. USB MIDI, of course, and then it also has the mini MIDI connections, and we give you the cables so that it comes out to the 5-pin DIN connections. There are 2 envelopes, a filter envelope and an amplitude envelope. They're both full ADSR envelopes, but on the front panel we just give you 2 parameters for each envelope. We give you the ones that you use the most with an analog synth. So filter attack and filter decay, amplitude attack and amplitude release. If you want to control all 4 stages, ADSR for each, you can do it via MIDI CC or with the editor, the IK editor for the UNO that comes with the synth. There's an LFO with 7 different shapes: sine wave, triangle wave, saw down, saw up, square, random, and sample and hold. Adjustable rate, so you can set the rate freely, and then you can also sync it to tempo. So that's a half note, that's a dotted quarter note, that's a quarter note. I'm doing this upside down, so dotted eighth note, right? Quarter note triplet. The LFO can modulate, of course, pitch, filter, and amplitude. We have 5 dedicated performance buttons that are musical articulations that you can play in real time while you're playing the unit, or along with the sequencer or the arpeggiator. So dive and scoop are articulation ideas that we were inspired by some of the 70s Japanese synths like the CS80 and the Roland SH2 and SH5. They called it auto bend. So dive dives down to the note, scoop scoops up to the note. So as the sequence is playing and you just want like a little like scoop or a dive into it, you can press these. Vibrato is of course pitch modulation, wah is filter modulation, tremolo is amplitude modulation, and the modulation is at the rate of the LFO. There is a 16-step sequencer in the UNO. There are 100 presets and each one of the presets has a sequence attached to it.
All right, okay.
So the step sequencer has a really, really cool feature where we can actually automate or record 20 synth parameters for every step of the sequence.
First step 20, okay.
Right, and in fact, Enrico made a very cool preset where he made a drum groove where he's actually like creates a kick drum and then the parameters change to make a snare drum and then to a tom. So this is just a monophonic analog synthesizer, but he's modulating, you know, the tuning of the oscillator, the mix of the noise and the mix of the oscillators to get this drum groove. So this is kind of a cool proof of concept to see how far we could take it. You can also record, well, in step time, like a classic TB303, you know, one step at a time, or you can record in real time. Okay. So you can turn on a metronome and then play in real time, and it will work with the steps. That's true for both the parameter recording and also for the note recording.
Okay, and there's also a metronome. All right.
Yes, right. There is an arpeggiator with 10 different modes. So up and down, up down, where you repeat the top and bottom note, that sort of thing, as played, random, all of that. These are available here. There's a 4-octave range, so you can do it in just the octave you played it in, or up to 4 octaves to stretch it. We have a scale keyboard. By default, it's just a chromatic scale, so a normal Western chromatic scale that you play from the keys. Yeah. But then we took this idea from our iOS apps, where we can also quantize the keyboard to different scales, so major, minor, and then we have 12 variations like Dorian, Mixolydian, Phrygian, klezmer, all of these scales. So
it's very easy, you know?
It's very easy, you know, that's the idea, exactly. So you don't really have to have any musical background to get, you know, some really cool music out of this and have a lot of fun. So we also have, of course, glide, portamento. We have a delay in the synth, so adjustable time and mix, of course. We can change the octave of the keyboard. I should also say that this is all capacitance sensing. So you don't actually have to press the buttons, you just touch them. So like the touch screen on a smartphone.
All right.
So it's not membrane switches, there's no actual switches under it, it's just capacitance sensing that does all this. So let's see, on the back, we have audio out. There's an audio in for daisy chaining additional units like drum machines or another UNO Synth or a giant Moog modular if you want. You can run it through the UNO Synth. There's MIDI in and out. Yeah. We provide, they're the mini jacks, but then we provide the cables, so they go out to the 5-pin DINs, right. So you don't have to find those cables. Yeah. And then there's USB, which you can use for power and also MIDI. So, and we saw the sync button here, so it will sync to a DAW or sync to a drum machine or anything that sends out MIDI clock. Okay. Yeah, it will run on batteries, so you can put 4 AA batteries in it if you want, and it will run for about 10 hours on batteries. So
that's impressive.
And that's it. That's the UNO Synth.
Cool. Erik, if you can give us a little sound demonstration.
Bring Enrico in for that.
Oh yeah, man, Enrico, please.
I can't play upside down. I probably couldn't be that good.
Let's see. Thank you. That's the UNO Synth, you know, at the booth of IK-Multimedia, Justmusic, Superbooth 2018.